Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on in to Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dahl, writer for Sports Illustrated for various SEC-related things. But on this podcast, we take a dive into all things Kentucky athletics. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. You can make every moment more by visiting FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. On today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be discussing the commitment of Tre Mitchell, forward from West Virginia. Really excited about this commitment for the Wildcats. I appreciate everybody tuned in live on YouTube. Really appreciate everybody tuning in wherever you are listening, whenever you are listening. If you're watching this post live on YouTube, would go ahead and encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this on podcast, follow along there as well. We're going to discuss what this means for Kentucky. We're going to discuss the rotation here on today's episode. It's a really exciting time for the Wildcats, who have finally gotten a transfer portal addition in the name of Tre Mitchell. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we've talked about Mitchell on the past couple of shows here, just discussing what he could be for the Wildcats. In the first episode that we did, we kind of threw him in alongside a few other names that are in the transfer portal that UK could be looking at and maybe would be looking at whenever they entered. And here we are now, a couple of episodes later, getting to talk about him officially as a Wildcat. So on Friday's show, I believe, we discussed Mitchell going to take a visit to UK. There was nothing official about whether or not, there would be a commitment coming after. So we got to speculate on our last live stream. Looks like Kentucky's going to be able to at least be a strong candidate for Tre Mitchell's services, and it looks like they're going to be, at the very least, in the running alongside, I believe it was 7 or 8 different names that were thrown out there, Oklahoma State, a few others, and something that you and I were talking about here on the live stream last time is this going to be something where we end up getting a commitment from Kentucky whenever the weekend ends? Are we going to be able to get a commitment before he has an opportunity to go and take a look at one of these other schools? And of course, UK was able to do that. They were able to do just that, to get Tre Mitchell from West Virginia. In case you did not know, last season with the Mountaineers, it was his lone season with the Mountaineers. He averaged 11.7 points per game, shot 36% from three, 78% from the free throw line, and he shot 52% from inside the arc. Also averaged almost 2 assists and 5.5 rebounds per contest there as well. Very solid pickup at the power forward spot. If you look at some of his previous seasons, played a year at Texas just before this, averaged 8.7 points per game on less efficient shooting from outside the arc. But in his 2 seasons at UMass, which is where he started his career, averaged 17.7 points and 18.8 points as a freshman and a sophomore. So this kid, first of all, can definitely score. I think that's the thing that we need to notice about a Tre Mitchell here as we kind of dive into what he could be for UK this upcoming season. I'm seeing some buffering issues on my end for the YouTube live stream. Not sure if I could do anything about that right now, but appreciate everybody watching. So I think the first thing that we do need to notice is that he is a scorer. And on top of that, I think that the versatility there is very exciting. I don't want to compare him to Keon Brooks because Keon Brooks couldn't shoot threes, but I do think that Mitchell has a little bit of Brooks in his game where you watch him play at that 4 position. He's a big-bodied kid, and he's able to handle the ball. He's able to do a lot of different things when it comes to scoring the basketball. Like I said, he can shoot it. He can also drive. I wouldn't say that his post moves are the strongest in the world at the moment, but I would say that they are definitely serviceable enough for what he wants to do at his spot and how Cal, I assume, is going to play him and get him to play his game. So he's a guy that I think can not... how do I say this? Because right now we're looking at a position where Kentucky is without Aaron Bradshaw, and appreciate Rocky Statue in the chat saying no buffering here. Aaron Bradshaw being out for UK is big, right? He's going to be out for at least a month and a half, I would say. Who knows what the timeline truly looks like for that with how Cal wants to handle the injuries and such, but it's definitely a detriment to UK in terms of how they want to develop their roster this offseason and how they want to build some chemistry, and not having what would be your starting power forward in that rotation is a big deal. And especially looking at the Global Jam, getting an opportunity to get your guys out there and run, I think not having Bradshaw out there is important. Getting a guy like Tre Mitchell in, who's played college basketball for now four seasons, heading into his fifth in the collegiate game, you're going to see Mitchell. I don't necessarily know if we can classify him as a leader, but you're going to see him step up and you're going to see him contribute in ways that I think these freshmen aren't going to be able to. I think there's going to be a lot more patience, a lot more understanding with his game. I wouldn't necessarily say that translates to better shooting or more dominant stats over a freshman. I'm just sitting here saying you're going to watch Mitchell play with these other guys in the Global Jam, and we're going to see things and hear things about practice and stuff like that. And we're going to hear praise for Mitchell. We're going to hear praise for what he's able to do on the court with these guys. And I really do hope, go back to our conversation with Antonio Reeves, here just a few weeks ago about talking about, what defines a leader. Can Reeves be that guy? I hope that Mitchell also provides another option, another opportunity for Kentucky to kind of create a leader here through somebody that has a lot of experience. So like we mentioned his stats, we mentioned his game. I think he's very versatile in what he has to bring to the table. And I'm going to pull up actually John Calipari's tweet that he had about Tre Mitchell here just about an hour ago. He said, Tre is from Pittsburgh, and I've known him for years. This was a unique situation, but as soon as he put his name in the portal, he was the player I knew we needed to pursue. He brings leadership, experience, size, and versatility, and is a great fit for what we want to do. I know that this is a win for us, and I believe this will be a win for him too. We are excited to have him as a part of our program. 6'9", 225 pounds, by the way, in case you're wondering about the size of Tre Mitchell, 6'9". Something that we noticed about Tre Mitchell during his time at Texas and UMass is that he played a little center. In fact, at UMass, he was primarily the starting center for the Minutemen over the course of his 2 seasons there. And then he got to Texas. He played a little bit of center with the Longhorns, but primarily rotated between power forward and that 5 spot. And I think when you look at this Kentucky rotation, which we're going to talk about here in just a second, when you look at this rotation, I think there could be a world here where if UK really wanted to, if John Welch and John Calipari really wanted to, they could play some small ball. And we're going to present the rotation here in just a second, but I just kind of want to point that out, that you can see Mitchell play a lot of different roles for Kentucky this upcoming season. Leader, shooter at the 4 spot, potentially a small big and a small ball lineup. I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize Tre Mitchell's services, and I'm very excited about what he could be for UK. He wore number 33 for 2 of his seasons in college, or 3 of his seasons in college. And then at West Virginia, he wore the number 3. I need to actually go pull up the numbers for Kentucky's freshmen this year. I don't know if that's going to be available. Kentucky Calvary, I just refreshed Twitter. He said that this would be his preferred lineup with Tre Mitchell actually at that center spot. So there you go ahead, and just proves what we're talking about here is he has the ability to play that 5 spot, I think. So we'll just have to see what Mitchell could be in the rotation for UK. And again, I'm thinking we're gonna break down the whole thing in just a minute. Let's take a look at chat here. Again, really appreciate everybody watching live. If you're watching post live, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the show. Kyle says the rumors of our demise were greatly exaggerated. We need to kind of hold off on that right now, because I still think we need to look. We get a commitment, right? It's awesome. It's exciting. We need to kind of make sure that we don't, tilt the scale extremely heavy in the other direction, right? We don't need to overreact one way or another to news, whether it be good or bad. I understand there's been so much negativity recently that it's kind of hard not to discuss it in a negative light. But one thing, right, we can be excited about, Mitchell committing, but let's not overreact, and let's not, jump to any conclusions that this all of a sudden the problems are completely solved, because we still need a backup center. I mean, if you want to classify Tre Mitchell as that, then I think we could do that, sure. But I think Kentucky wants maybe something else, which brings me to another chat here. Somebody asking about, do we expect to get a commitment from Somto now? Dubsack asks that. I would assume sometime in August we are going to hear an official announcement about Somto reclassifying and coming to play for UK. If we get something before then, great. But as of right now, I would say yes. Rocky Statue says he's knocking out classes right now in order to reclassify. There you go. There you go. We all seem to be on the same page here. Rocky also asked, does Mitchell addition anger Bradshaw? I don't think Mitchell starts, but I know Bradshaw isn't happy with Dickinson rumors. Bradshaw, I think, should be happy about the fact that he plays the 4 and he plays nothing but the 4, because he's going to be, I think, the starter at that position this upcoming season. With Mitchell in the fold here, it's interesting how this dynamic could work out. Maybe because he's the veteran player, Mitchell ends up being the one that starts, and Bradshaw is the one that kind of comes in and takes most of the minutes. I mean, we speculated about different types of rotations like that here on the show with previous transfer portal players that ended up not committing to the Wildcats. So I think Bradshaw should be fine, because if Kentucky wants to give him those minutes, he can get those minutes at the 4. And if they want to keep Mitchell happy, like I said, they can slide him down to their 5. They could definitely do that if they wanted to run that rotation. And let's be realistic with ourselves here. Maybe even Bradshaw, because he's 7 feet tall, could definitely definitely slide down to the center position as well. I mean, if you have both of them in the game, doesn't really matter. You can kind of interchange between the two during plays. It's not like just because you have but one guy out there means he has to be this position in your sets that you run. You can interchange it. You've got 2 tall guys out there that have previously played center at different spots. It's fine. You could play them both. I don't think that it would anger Bradshaw, Rocky. I think that realistically, Bradshaw can get his, Mitchell can get his as well. Kentucky can run some fun things with their rotation. I think that this is fine. Clint Vincent says, thanks, Mr. Dahl from Peru, my favorite and most trusted source of all time. Clint, I really appreciate that. Genuinely, I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm the best source of all time, but I can appreciate that I am yours. I wish that I could donate to you one day. I will. I appreciate that as well, man. I really do. I don't think we're ever going to have super chats enabled on the channel, but I do appreciate that. Kyle says, Somto, unless we are holding out for another Mark Few DU. Yeah, unless that happens, we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, this is exciting. This is exciting for UK. I don't think, again, that it's fair to kind of overreact here and kind of freak out, but this is an extremely valuable piece. This is what Kentucky needed, exactly what Coach Cal said. This is what the doctor ordered. Now you're waiting on a reclassification from Somto, and then we will kind of have the entire piece here put together. All 12 or 13, I think 13 of Kentucky's players now officially on roster. In case I didn't note this, he was the A10 Rookie of the Year, and he was first team All A10 at UMass. So he's a very, very talented player here that the Wildcats are picking up. Former 4-star. I think I might as well note that as well. Actually, let me go pull this up just to make sure that I'm not bullcrapping on this. Yeah, he's a former 4-star, was the number 107 prospect nationally, and went to UMass, which is interesting. So let's see. Anthony says, does this make Reeves want to play harder now that he has another veteran piece? I hope so. I hope that this is a situation where it's kind of like an iron sharpens iron type of thing. I can't say the word iron. Wow, look at me go. Live, nonetheless. So I think that this could be a situation where you get another experienced guy in here, and it's an opportunity for both of you to learn how to be a leader, and maybe one of those guys takes that role, and the other one kind of is there to help as well. I don't know how the locker room dynamics would work in this situation, but yes, Anthony, I think that this should make Reeves either identify his role better or want to become something different with the help of Tre Mitchell. So I want to discuss the rotation here in just a second, and I can already see if some of you in chat talking about how this is going to work out. I've got a graphic I want to pull up for you guys. Before I get to that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. As you all know, baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I can only assume that we have some Cincinnati Reds fans in the chat here today or listening post live on podcast, and it's y'all's time. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm a Braves fan. I hated that series from the very beginning. Terrible pitching, but man, were there a lot of runs scored, and that is a competitive team, the Cincinnati Reds. Very gritty team, I think is the way that you could describe them. It's a lot of fun what the Reds are doing right now, and you can head over to FanDuel.com to kind of lay down some stuff on some different props, some odds for the Cincinnati Reds. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back. And bonus bets, if your first bet doesn't win, all you have to do is go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to join today. Don't miss your chance to snag a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel. FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That is FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the MLB. All right, continuing along here on the Monday edition of Locked On Kentucky, Lance Dahl hanging out here with you. I don't think that this is going to be a terribly long discussion here. Really appreciate everybody watching in chat. Got about 115, 120 people watching live on YouTube. If you're listening post-live or on podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It would mean a ton to us here if you went ahead and subscribe. Also, Rocky Statue says in the chat what I was just about to say. 118 live viewers and only 17 likes. SMH. I am not angry. I am just simply disappointed, like a parent would. Like the video. If you like what you're listening to, I'm not going to force you to do it, but if you like what you're listening to, like the video, I would appreciate that as well. I do genuinely... I'm very excited about the support that the channel has gotten over the past couple of months. You guys have been extremely kind to the comments for the most part. I'm not saying every single comment has to be sunshine and roses, but sometimes you need to have serious discussions and questions in chat. But I appreciate everybody that's been so kind, and I really do hope that once the season kicks off, we're really starting to do something special here. Anthony says, where do you see Kentucky now in the polls with the addition of Mitchell? Top 25. I think that they're somewhere between 20 to 25th, and maybe some of you out there could make an argument that Kentucky is, a top 10 team, a top 15 team. I want to see this team play. I want to see this freshman core play in the Global Jam before I really start to formulate opinions on it. Like, okay, what are they in relation to the rest of college basketball? And I understand playing against international teams is not going to be the best measurement for that, but at least getting to see them dribble a basketball and run some sets is going to be helping me understand kind of where they're at right now. Michael says, you're definitely my favorite sportscaster referring to UK. I really appreciate that, Michael. That favorite sportscaster in the Kentucky sphere. I think that's definitely an accomplishment. I know there's some big names in the UK sphere as well. So Joshua says, talent-wise, top 10, team-wise, top 30. That's probably a really good way to put it. All right. I have a graphic here that I would like to show you guys, and I hope that this pulls up. Oh, wrong one. I hope that this pulls up well on YouTube. But I made this graphic a few weeks ago. No, I am not a graphic designer, so just bear with me here while we walk through this. You've got your 5 different positions here, and I'm just now realizing that some things are out of order on this graphic. But we've got our 5 positions here, and I've kind of done my best to identify the different positions that different players may be playing. So we're going to walk through this here, and I'm going to try and not start any arguments in the comments as to where I have certain positions or certain players at certain positions. So let's start at point guard. You've got Rob Dillingham, Adu Thiero, and then I think DJ Wagner could also play. I think he could also play point. Is Rob Dillingham going to start? Is DJ Wagner going to start? I don't know. Whatever happens there will be interesting. This could end up being a world where, DJ Wagner gets to start at the 1, Reeves gets to start at the 2, Dillingham comes off the bench for the 1, and then Adu Thiero is kind of like the tweener where he could play shooting guard. He could even play small forward if he wanted to, which I'm just now looking at Joshua saying in the chat that that's where he would slide him down. But yeah, you've got Thiero, who I think could be a versatile piece that could move 1 through 3. And then you've got your shooting guard spots. I think Wagner, Reeves, and Shepard are your 3 primary shooting guards here. Reeves will probably start. That's just my guess, but we'll have to see. who comes off the bench after him. It could be DJ Wagner. It could be Dillingham. It could be Shepard. It could be Thiero. It could be Josh Hart, who I have at the small forward position that could tween up to the 2. Justin Edwards, I think, will be your starter at small forward, though. That is just my hunch. Then you have the power forward spot, which is, I think, one of the more interesting positions on the team. Jordan Burks, Tre Mitchell, Aaron Bradshaw, and I think Mitchell here is your true 4 that you can roll with. I should have probably put the little center logo underneath him just in case we want to talk about that in terms of rotations here. But Burks, I think, could slide up to small forward because he's played it previously. Bradshaw could slide down to center because he's tall enough to. Mitchell, at the end of the day, could play the center spot, but would he play it over Bradshaw in this rotation? I don't know. And then your center position, you got Onyenso. And the guy that is yet to commit to Kentucky and is yet to reclassify, Somto Cyril, I also have in this graphic as well. Any thoughts in the chat about this? Let's see. Wagner, Reeves, Edwards, Mitchell until Bradshaw returns, and Onyenso is the 5. That's probably the most likely outcome here. I still think, after watching it, man, I know a lot of you disagree with this. I saw somebody in chat the other day said something as like, well, you don't seem to be very locked on to the different position groups because you think that Rob Dillingham's a point guard. Yes, I think that Rob Dillingham's a point guard. I've just watched his game. It's less about, oh, well, he's going to play this, that, or the other in the Cal system. And I've been watching his highlights and his high school tape for quite some time. Same for DJ Wagner. And I understand both of them could play point. I just like Dillingham more as a creator because of how fun he is to watch with the basketball. I think that he is a more dynamic distributor. So that's why I continue to put him at the point guard spot. And I understand that Dillingham is a score-first type of guard. Still, though, if you put him in this role with his ball handling skills, I think he excels. I think he becomes a very talented player and a hard one to stop at that. I think that Wagner could start at point guard. He very well could. I think that he is more than capable of doing so. I think that he is less of a scorer and more of a distributor, but I like Rob Dillingham's skill set, and I think that he would be a very solid option to go there as well. And something I continue to note is coming out of high school, Rob was kind of in his breakdowns that I've seen, it was noted that he was kind of a tweener guard, right? Whereas with Wagner, it's like he's a true combo guard. He can play either position. He can play either well. He's also got some bounce to him, maybe more of a dynamic athlete. And that's not to say Dillingham isn't at all. He very much so is. But Dillingham, Wagner, that's your backcourt. That's just kind of where I want to sit on that at the end of the day. Reeves is also your third guy that could play shooting guard. He's probably going to start there, but Wagner and Dillingham are the two guys that I think are going to really, really make this team go this year in that spot. Johnny says, I'm so hype about this. I agree. B-Stack says Rob is the sixth man. That could be the situation here, and I'm just looking at it differently. Seems like Adu could play point guard through small forward. He could. He very well could. I just want to see them play him at small forward. Do you see Reed playing the point any, is what Anthony asks in chat. There is a reality in a smaller Kentucky roster where they don't get Reeves back and they have to do certain things. There's a reality where Shepard could have played point, but because you've got Dillingham and you've got Wagner and you've got Thiero, I don't know if Shepard's going to be seeing a ton of time at point. Could he play there? Sure. Is he going to? I don't see it, but I would be intrigued if Kentucky were to go that direction. That guy Monty says, I think people are sleeping on Shepard. I completely agree. To see somebody that was scoring that high in high school and to not really get a ton of attention after committing to one of the best basketball programs in the nation, it's kind of shocking, but that's just the lay of the land here, especially with the rest of the recruiting class that Kentucky added. So Shepard is kind of waiting in the wings here, so to speak, to get his time to shine, and I think he'll have opportunities to do so this season. Jimmy says, I'm most excited for Reed Shepard. Can't wait to watch him develop over the next few years. And that's actually something that's an interesting point, Jimmy, about this rotation. How many of these guys do we see coming back after this season? I don't think Dillingham will. I don't think Wagner will. I don't think Justin Edwards will. And Aaron Bradshaw and Ugonna Onyenso could also be gone as well. That's just the reality of it. Actually, I think I saw a mock draft recently where Bradshaw was a second rounder and Onyenso was a first. He was like pick 24, which right now I don't see that, but we'll just have to wait and see how Onyenso pans out. B-Stack says Rob would have started if Reeves didn't come back, but Reeves' shooting is crucial for spacing in the starting unit. That's probably fair. That's probably fair. If you want Dillingham at that 6-man spot, if UK wants him there, I think that you're going to get him there. How does Kentucky manage the minutes is the question. I saw people in the chat earlier talking about minutes, and also, Jimmy, I'm just now seeing this. Yes, Oscar did get a 2-way deal with the Indiana Pacers. So I'm keeping this graphic up here, man. I couldn't think of the word. This graphic up here just so that you guys can kind of continue to look at what we're looking at here. But you've got 2 different positions where you've got 3 different guys. And heck, point guard, you could have 3 different people there. I mean, this is genuinely an exciting lineup, guys. Like, this is genuinely something that we should be excited about. Now, how does it translate to postseason success? I don't think that we even need to care about that right now. How does it translate to how Kentucky plays in the Global Jam? That, I think, is the question that we need to be asking. And, of course, we're going to be talking about that over the next couple of weeks. We're going to be discussing the different possibilities of how Kentucky could utilize these individual players. I'm very excited to have the opportunity to maybe get some of these kids on during the offseason here, maybe in the next month or so. We'll stay tuned on that. We'll take the final question of the show here before we head out. Again, we really appreciate everybody watching live. Anthony says, what matchups are you intrigued to see the most? In terms of the Global Jam, or in terms of just the different things that we could see in the rotation? Or are you saying for this upcoming basketball season for UK? I'll answer the Global Jam one first. I am genuinely intrigued to see how this backcourt looks for a variety of reasons. The past 2 years, Kentucky has had, for the most part, either diminutive point guards or combo guards lead the way for their offense. I want to see a taller 6'1", 6'2" player that can score, and I mean genuinely score, run the offense, or have 2 of them in your backcourt. I want to see what that looks like again. And I understand they're not both these guys can't average 15 to 18 a game. I get that. But I want to see how legitimate guards run their stuff. Now, I'm not saying Ty Washington wasn't legitimate. I'm not saying Cason Wallace wasn't legitimate. I'm just saying these guys feel like something special, and I want to see them be special. That's probably the biggest thing I'm looking at. And then the second thing that I'm looking at, Anthony, is how does Kentucky deal with rim protection? How do they deal with that? Is Ugonna Onyenso truly taking the next step as a center in the SEC, as a center against some big-time players in the Global Jam? How does he look? And if he's not the answer, does a player like Somto end up stepping up and being a very aggressive presence down low for the Wildcats? I don't think you're going to see a lot of scoring out of Kentucky's 5 spot this season. It's going to allow 1 through 4 to really shine with the basketball. I think that's something else that we have to talk about as a whole for UK is for the last 2 years, we've been starting a player at center that was, I think, like 6'8" whenever he got measured at the combine. It might have been closer to 6'7". And Kentucky's not really been that tall of a team. They just haven't. And they haven't been able to shoot, and they haven't been able to protect the rim. And I think that this year, we've got several options on paper that could prove to be very valuable shooters. I would hate for this to be like last year and just be like, well, CJ Frederick just didn't pan out. And like, well, this guy didn't shoot that well. And, well, Jacob Toppin wasn't taking a ton of threes. I think that we've got guys that can knock down shots. And I think that we've got a taller rotation. We've got a lengthier rotation. We've got a team that looks like a traditional Wildcat squad. Does that translate again to postseason success? I don't know. But as of right now, I'm excited to see how these guys work. So we will just have to wait for the Global Jam. Daryl says Trey Mitchell's skill set is PJ Washington like. That's a good comp. That's a really good comp. I would agree with that. Rocky says these guys got to come in and knock down shots. I don't scared freshmen for 3 months. Yeah, I hope I don't want get scared freshmen for 3 months, I think is what he was trying to say there. I think that's going to do it, guys. I really appreciate everybody watching live. Again, if you have not liked the video already, which I see a lot of you have, please go ahead and do so. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if this is your first time watching. If you're listening on podcast, follow along and leave a review for the show as well. That's going to do it, I think, for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You guys can follow the show on Instagram at Kentucky Podcast. You can also follow me on Twitter at Lansdahl_. It's been great. Fun live stream. I will see you all on Wednesday for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.